Welcome to UCSD Health Science International. We appreciate you coming on today to our webinar. And we're going to be discussing today planning your medical career. I'm really proud to have here with me as our presenters, Dr. Mounir Soliman, who's the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Executive Director of UC San Diego Health Science International, as well as a Professor of Psychiatry, and Dr. Patrick Delaney, who is a Professor of Neuroscience, who has been the Residency Program Director for Neurology for a number of years and serves as our faculty advisor here at Health Science International for our physician and other education and training programs. We appreciate your participation and we look forward to sharing our experience and expertise with you on enhancing your success in your career as a physician. Just as a few matters of housekeeping, we have everybody on mute for the present time until the presentations are over. Then we'll open the discussion and unmute people who have questions. You have the ability to raise your hand on your screen. So if you have a question, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, you can also, while the presentations are ongoing, type in a question as a chat, and we'll address those when the presentations are over. So again, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'd like to ask Dr. Soliman to be our first speaker.
Sure. So first of all, I would like to welcome each one of you and share with you very short the kind of talking point from my side that it is related to planning your medical career. This is the beginning of the finishing line, in my opinion. You have worked very hard. You have done an exemplary kind of effort in getting you to finish medical school and to think about the future, coming into the United States, seeking a new opportunity to be eligible and successfully matching into the graduate medical education. So bridging into a different stage of your educational and training journey is an important and critical point in your life. What you have done so far, you choose to be a doctor, you made the hard choice, and you get into medical school that requires a lot of patience, a lot of persistence, and a lot of effort and time. Sometimes this kind of journey can be very stressful because you've been away from the things that you love and you can do every day, and this is what sets you apart from other colleagues, where you dedicate your time and the effort to gain knowledge and the skills so you can make a difference moving forward. Making a difference requires a different kind of training. And the medical education all over the world, either it is 4+4 or traditional, the British system, it does not make a difference really, in my opinion, about the quality of doctor. What make a difference after that, it will be the transition, the bridging. It is learning a new knowledge and the new skills. It's not only how to deal with patients, but also how to be a good leader, how to be a physician scientist, and also how to make an impact. It's not only providing the care, but communicating it with the patient about compassion and the passion as well, and connecting with the patient and the family and making the patient the center for everything that you do. Once you finish all of this kind of preparation and getting into the GME, your life will start because you're starting to practically applying all of the knowledge and the skills that you have gained. We here at UC San Diego have put a lot of effort and time, as well as you've done, to choose medical career to provide you with a unique opportunity through our programs so you can really make a difference. So what I'm talking about a program that really not only provide you with the skills and the knowledge, but also help you out to understand in a better way the healthcare system in the United States, how to initiate research, how to be a leader, and how to be involved in the decision making and be a game changer. Most of you coming from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where there is a huge opportunity for you to go back and make a difference. We are working with the government on the transformation of healthcare, and we are relying on the future doctors like you to make a difference once you finish what you need to finish. So what is unique about UC San Diego? The campus itself, it is innovative campus in many ways. We rely on discoveries, we rely on the new finding, and we rely on some sort of entrepreneurship where people can bring in new ideas that affect the people's health and life. That is very critical to us. And this is what sets UC San Diego away from any other campus within the UC system. We have a lot of involvement in the biotechnology, and you will learn more about this. But the point here that the knowledge that you're going to be learning is going to be applicable knowledge, and it is going to help you out not only to be successfully able to secure a position with the GME, but also making a difference, as I mentioned, either in healthcare transformation, or being a physician scientist, or being a public health advocate, or even being a CEO of a hospital or a manager. So the campus is more into research and the discovery, and there is a lot of multidisciplinary engagement where the medical school, engineering school, and the business school work together to help us as the incubator for the future physicians and healers, and also making sure that we are well prepared and preparing you to the next challenges after you finish your GME. The program, as you will hear from Dr. Delaney, will include a lot of components that it goes beyond the knowledge and the skills that you might get in any other institution. We have put together a research experience for you, close monitoring process where you're going to be working closely with one of our faculty. In addition to that, we will help you out with some other knowledge and importantly, the way you deal with patient and how to connect with the patient in a different way. Additionally, you will get close and structured courses to help you out to be successfully matching. With that in mind, I want to conclude with a couple of points about our track record. We've been doing this for many years. We have been successfully able to help our scholars to match in the GME, not only on the physician side, but also on the pharmacy side. We have trained over 400 physicians from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the last few years. We have made a huge change within the institution where some of you have been able to match here at UC San Diego. So there is opportunity for you to do so. We have at least 14 resident and the fellow on campus. A few years ago, when we started this, we had 0 students from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. With that in mind, we welcome the opportunity to answer any questions later on after we finish our talk. But with that said, again, I extend a warm welcome to each of you and looking forward to more questions and answer as we move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mounir. Thank you everyone out there for participating this morning. I share Dr. Soliman's admiration for the courage it takes to travel to a foreign country to study something as challenging as medicine in a second language. That takes some real fortitude. It shows to me that you want to have a successful career and that you've spent some time thinking about your career, which is the most critical step here. As a program director for many years and as a member of GME here for almost 15 years, I can tell you that what program directors really want to see is is not that your highest goal is to be a resident. They were a resident many, many years ago. They've had a career since then, and they want to hear from you where you want to go to find out whether they can help you get there. That's really what they want. And to illustrate that, keep going. To illustrate that, I want you to see a slide, this slide. These are numbers from the match that concluded 7 weeks ago. And if you look at the scores, you'll see that US seniors, their mean score of the matched US seniors was 233 on the step 1. And of all international physicians, US citizens and non-US citizens, the score was 234. And so that should give you pause to think about why is the first group matching at about 98% and the second group matching historically at about 50%. And that's the real message I want to discuss with you today, is that it's important to do well on the tests. The test score does make a difference, but it's not really what program directors are looking at the most. And the match this year actually surveyed program directors about what's most important to them in the match. It dovetails very closely with what this program has been doing for a long time. And in terms of your preparation for the match and for residency, this is a very, very important slide to look at. Program directors, overall, they really want to know that if you start in their residency, that you're clinically ready to go. It's very important to them. They know their own program can train you to be a good specialist in whichever field they are training you in. But they want to make sure that that you'll be ready that first day, that you won't have a problem. And so, what things make U.S. program directors uncomfortable? You can see the list here, but long gaps in clinical training or a long time for medical school really worries them, because they know that clinical skills can degrade very rapidly. At the same time, because they're U.S. program directors, they may not have any idea of the quality of medical schools outside the U.S. Some program directors do, and some program directors don't. And so among program directors, that label that gets attached is a clinical unknown. They just don't know what the background of that applicant is. And that hurts, because as you saw with the US applicants, they have a good idea of how strong those schools are, what an average student from a good school is like, what a good student from a weaker school is like, and they can compare very directly. The other item on that list, which we can perhaps discuss at the end, is that how you go about achieving your ultimate goal, again, not necessarily residency, but how you achieve that goal has to be realistic. Just for an example, if I really intend to be an orthopedic surgeon and I have a USMLE 1 score of 205, just applying to an orthopedic surgery residency is profoundly unlikely to work. There's only 62 total international physicians in US orthopedic surgery residencies this last year. And so am I likely to be one of those 62 with that approach? No. Does it mean that I have to give up my goal? Absolutely not. There are other ways to get from here to there. And that's where really thinking about, again, your goals and what your strategy is for getting there are very important. Can you advance to the next slide? So, I want to leave enough time for us to answer your questions. And so I thought what I would do is show you essentially what we do here at UCSD. And in this last year's match, the international physicians here at UCSD matched at the exact same rate as US medical students did, that is above 95%. And the reason is we took those considerations from the last couple of slides to heart, and we built the program to help program directors understand the training that you've had and why that can lead to a very successful career. And so to that end, in our program, the scholars that arrive here, they're attached to a very specific faculty mentor in their subspecialty interest. And that faculty mentor, besides giving them experience in that field, they rate them throughout the year for us, and they rate them on the same rating scale that the program directors rate their own residents on. So it's familiar to the program director. It's from a U.S. academic physician who is in a training facility. In other words, it has all of the things the program director needs to think, okay, this person is fully trained and has had all the right exposures. As Dr. Soliman mentioned, the program provides clinical research exposure during the time here, often leading to publications or poster presentations. As you may or may not know, that's really how UCSD's reputation was built. It was a medical research institution even before it was a university. It's one of the top NIH-funded institutions in the United States in medicine, and almost every university in the U.S. Should know that. The nice thing about being in a program in an academic institution like this, or a specific program that helps one prepare for the match, is that besides developing a letter from a mentor that that a scholar has worked with, the program itself writes a letter, and it allows the program to say things that you may not be able to. So for instance, the match is in September, and the scholar may have started in summer. And so we know many things that the program is going to put the scholar through in preparation for residency that the scholar just hasn't had yet. We could tell them that, and we can list the things that we know the program director needs to hear to know that the scholar is a quality resident in the making. The program isn't just interested in making applicants barely qualify, just make it into internship and abandon them. We want the scholars to be successful residents, and really, if they've been here at UCSD, we want them to be global ambassadors that represent us in future years. Those scholars go back to their home institutions, and all of a sudden they're the last word on UCSD. And we like that. We want to encourage it, and we want to prepare them for that. And that entails some leadership training, healthcare education, education about the U.S. healthcare system, many different aspects of being successful in a career, not just residency. And so those are my main points. I think we have a few minutes for questions now, unless
I'd like to ask at this time, if you have questions, please either raise your hand or unmute yourself on the audio, or type in your question, please.
while we're waiting for those questions, in terms of just important details, you should know that some of the ACGME rules have changed beginning in July, and some of the individual stage requirements for medicine have changed beginning next January. In any case, what you really, the single most important thing is making sure that you have all of the necessary requirements to be ECFMG certified by the time the match starts. So not partway into it, not by the time of the rank order list. Very important. So by September 15th. Here in California, the additional requirement, which you may or may not have heard of, which is a PTAL, Program Training Authorization Letter, will be retired in January, which reduces the waiting time by months for those for that training eligibility. So that's really good news for everybody who is applying for residency this next year.
Dr. Delaney and Dr. Soliman, I see a question from our audience. Can you please describe the types of training programs we offer, the short-term training or the longer-term bridge to residency training?
I'm not sure quite what the question intends there. By law, spots in residencies cannot be guaranteed. That would be a match violation. Positions in the preparatory programs like the Bridge to Residency program or the core program are a different matter. While there's no guarantee, on the other hand, as I said, for last year, the match success rate for the Bridge program was over 95%.
I think to the question, there's a question about students who are sponsored by the Saudi Cultural Mission. I know we have students from all over the globe on the call, but students from the Saudi Cultural Mission, we do not guarantee admission even to our bridging program. It's a highly competitive program. We are just going to begin offering step preparation as part of our program. But at the current time, to enter our Bridge to Residency program, which is the year-long prep program, we require that you have a passing step 1 score on first attempt. And typically, if you have lower than a 210, it is quite challenging to enter our program. Just again, we have a very high standard for students in our program, given that we're one of the leading academic centers in the United States.
So if I may add one more thing, although we don't have guaranteed position, if you are a star, you will find a lot of support from our office and also from the graduate medical education in general. As I mentioned in my introduction, that we have already successful scholars who made it to the GME at UC San Diego. And that is based on the merit, is not based on guaranteed spots. It is based on the skills, on the knowledge. We are proud to have surgeons, resident surgery resident, and also we have resident in probably radiology, in pulmonary critical care, cardiology, you name it. I don't think we have any glass ceiling for anything that you want to do. And one important thing that we want to share with you, that it is based on your performance, based on your communication with the people that you're working with about how good you are. This is what help us, help specifically Dr. Delaney, to pick up the phone and call and advocate for you to get a position. So that's where we at. But regardless, your positions here at UC San Diego and your chance, our success rate is huge in Canada. Every single individual went through our program has matched, and every out probably of the percentage out of 100, as an example, is close to 90-some this year for the people who have been successful to get into residency training. So the short answer to your question about the guarantee, we don't have guarantee thing, but we have some other efforts to help you out achieve your goals.
Thank you. The next question has to do with visa for the program. So at the present time, our bridge to residency for physicians is on a J1 research visa. And it's hard to answer specifically for an individual situation. It would depend if you're already here in the States, depending what kind of visa you're on. We would have to work with you as an individual. I can assure you that we work very carefully each year with our bridge scholars who are here on the J1 research visa. If they match to transition to J1 clinical, we seek the expertise of our international faculty and scholars office here at UCSD to guide us in that process from year to year, and much of it depends on what your home country is. So I hope that provides enough of an answer for that question.
You want to speak a little bit about the possibility and the plan for maybe introducing a different visa as well?
So as Dr. Soliman's pointing out, as we expand our programs to include test preparation, in some cases we may be offering an F1 visa. That's what we're currently beginning to offer. We have a new bridge to residency for pharmacists here at UC San Diego, and that is being conducted under an F1 visa. So there is a possibility in the future as we move forward that we would convert this program as well. I think the next question is actually well suited for Dr. Delaney. It has to do with, in our bridging program, is that considered continuous clinical experience, as you're pointing out that program directors are interested in seeing in future residents?
Yes, and the answer is absolutely, positively yes.
Fantastic, and that occurs in many ways.
But can you expand a little bit about the hand-on experience that they get while they're here?
Yes, the experience here comes in several different forms. As I was mentioning before, each individual scholar in the program has a specific mentor that they work with throughout the year. And that's time spent in the clinics and or in the hospital. And often their research experience is also with that individual because it's in the department that they, or the specialty that they intend to pursue their career in. There's several other aspects of this also. UCSD has a state-of-the-art simulation center. And so whether one is in dermatology or pediatric, I don't know, micro laser surgery, we want every scholar to have vetted the skills for internship. So and the simulation center allows us to do that. So IVs, lumbar punctures, intubation, and we also vet the students' physical exam skills with a CPX exam or the OSCE, which you may have called it in your home institution. That cohort of patients here is the same one that's used in the USMLE2. It's the same pool of patients, the same pool of vignettes. And so it's very helpful preparation for the scholars, but it also lets us know if there are any areas that need to be worked on during the course of the year to make that scholar as ready as possible for residency. So yes.
Thanks, Dr. Delaney. The next question has to do with scholarships for the program. Again, that partly has to do with your home country. In some cases, we are able to work with ministries of education or health in your home country to ascertain if funding is available. Internally, there are very limited scholarships available. So we would encourage applicants, if you have questions about scholarship or finances, to direct that to our email, which is the hsinternational@ucsd.edu. Then I think the next question is it helpful to join the program if you only have 5 months left to the match? I would say absolutely, absolutely. In fact, we think that is an ideal time to join, is somewhere around between 4 to 6 months in advance of the match. That way you have the opportunity to know your faculty mentor well, to know Dr. Delaney well, and to gain some of the great benefits of going through the application process with us. I don't know if either of you would like to add to that.
That's a critical time for preparing your application for the match, and you know, some of that is already set in stone as far as the medical school transcripts, but much of it is not. What makes an individual stand out in that application process is their personal statement and the portfolio of experiences that they put into that application. That's really what makes them stand out. That's what the program director wants to see. As Ms. Curran said, the 5 months is plenty of time to accomplish that. And the program letter that goes from Health Sciences International to the match further lets them know about the process that goes on through and after the match for further preparing you for residency. And that's really what they want to hear, that a scholar has all the preparation they need to be successful.
Thank you. I think our next question has to do with individuals who have clinical experience after graduating in their home country, and they're curious to know, Dr. Delaney and Dr. Soliman, would that be useful or not so useful in terms of their application from the eyes of a program director?
The answer is yes. The program director most wants to see clinical experience at a US or at least North American program because they know the strength of that program. They know the methods for evaluating the scholars and the students and residents. So it's more about making the program director feel comfortable. Having said that, international medical graduates by and large have a huge advantage over the medical students in the US that they're competing with, in that I would venture to say almost everyone on this webinar has already completed an internship. And so it's important in the application process to make sure that that point comes across. So the short answer is yes. As with everything, it's how you prepare the application that counts.
The challenge, if I may add one more thing, the challenge, especially with the clinical experience, if there is a gap between the last time you had hand-on experience and treating the patient and then starting your GMB. So as an example, once you finish, say you finish your internship, you come to the United States, you spend a year or a year and a half to prepare yourself for the testing and getting ready for the match. If the program director would see a huge gap with like basically no clinical experience, this is not an encouraging science for the program director. They like to see people who are fresh with like clinical experience. And this is what UC San Diego provide, and different from any other program, that once you are here on campus, even if you are preparing for USMLE Part 2 or you're engaging in a bridging program, you will have hands-on experience and you will claim this in your CV and will reflect on the letter from my office by Dr. Delaney indicating that you had this experience. I think it is critical to differentiate between prior experience as a clinician and recent experience as a clinician. And if you're able to demonstrate in your CV that you have a recent experience, which our program provide, I think will put you on advantage for securing a position or at least entertaining an interviews.
It's critical. I agree completely. It's critical that when you get to the interview, that you can tell them, I'm currently clinically active. That goes a long ways to settling the questions about any of the gaps for test taking and for other things, because most program directors have a sense that transferring education from one country to another creates some delays. And you tell them, I've been continuously clinically active. I'm currently working with Dr. Soliman at UCSD, and I think you have a letter from him that will put all that to rest.
Right. The clinical experience that we provide here at UC San Diego, because you are not licensed, it is for educational and teaching purpose. And we have figured this internally, how to provide you with the clinical experience that it is not for direct, it is not for patient care, but it is a direct kind of interaction with patients and have hands-on experience. So we have standardized patient, we have real patients, we have the simulations, and we have the clinical research as well, where you can talk, examine the patient because they are subject, they are not patient per se, because they are in the clinical research.
Thanks for that answer. We have a question about whether a U.S. citizen would have an advantage in applying for the Bridge program in terms of scholarship or research. I would say maybe yes and maybe no. The advantage is that you don't have to go through the visa process. It doesn't make a difference in terms of scholarship or the ability to access research. Again, we're very selective in admissions for the program. So the most important thing in terms of applying is sort of, your past successes are usually the best predictors of your future success. So we look at things like your GPA, your step 1 score, your letters of recommendation, so forth. So I hope that helps to answer that question. The next question has to do we provide preparation for residency interviews? And the answer is a resounding yes. And I'll let Dr. Soliman and Dr. Delaney chime in, but I can tell you that we do some very structured preparation as well as practice interviewing. And our scholars go through at least one practice interview for every real interview they do, but maybe you can go into more detail about the different types of prep we do even in advance of that.
The interview is really a second stage in the application process. And so once one has qualified for the interviews, the programs are essentially telling you, we think you're strong enough to rank you on our list, and the question becomes where. And at that stage, it's very much more about personality and about whether the program thinks that you fit in well with them and whether they can help you achieve your goals. This goes back to the original application process, because the sorts of questions they'll ask you, there are always some that make applicants nervous. Dr. X, what about that gap between medical school and now? Or, what about any clinical training between point A and point B? If one is successful at crafting the personal statement, you can answer those questions in the most positive way possible, because you have all the time in the world to create that personal statement. And when it then comes to the interview, you've already thought through the hardest questions. Since it's in the personal statement, they may not even ask you those hardest questions. So there's a definite strategy to being successful in the interviews. And we have that very well worked out in terms of how to prepare you for that. So yes.
Thank you.
I want to add one more thing about the interview. When you receive an invitation for interview, I want to let you know that the program and the program director has seen a potential for you to be one of their team for recruitment, that you already passed probably 65 to 70% probably for the screening process. So it is critical to make it or break it during the interview. And this is where we will prepare you. We have a mock interview, as Dr. Delaney mentioned. There is a lot of things, not only in terms of the mock interview, but a lot of advice, a lot of things that we have as part of the program to make you successful with the interview and pass this probably 30-35% challenges through the interview process.
If you've had a chance to look at the numbers that the match puts out every year, there's an interesting statistic that you might want to look at. In any given year, of the number of people that initially apply for the match in September, by the time it comes to turning in a rank order list in late February, anywhere from 3,000 to 8,000 of them have dropped out. and they drop out. One, because they realize maybe they realize their application just wasn't prepared the way it ought to be, or they receive no interviews, so they can't take that next step of turning in a rank order list. Many reasons, but that's why the key, as the last question raised, the key is the preparation between now and when the match starts. It's everything, and so this is your moment to seize the opportunity.
Thank you. I think we have one last question about if someone joins our bridging program, but they're selected in the match in March and they still have time left on the clock, so to speak, do they continue for the rest of the course, or what happens at that point? So at that point, we actually encourage people to stay in the program because often you're completing, for example, a research project with your mentor, presenting at a national or international conference, and those are all things that continue to add to your ability to function very well on the first day as a resident. I think one thing that's important, and I think was mentioned earlier, we're not just preparing you to succeed in the match, we're preparing you to succeed as a resident. So the additional time in the program is really spent polishing your leadership skills, your research skills and experience, providing additional clinical training. We do clinical training all 12 months of the year, including structured training in different disciplines, so that when you walk into residency on the first day, you're on par with all the other fellow residents in your program. So would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Delaney or Dr. Soliman?
No, that's precisely correct. Because the timing for the match is so critical, and in some cases short, the structure of the program is arranged to take care of those essentials first, to have you as optimally prepared as possible. And so in terms of the other elements that we want you to have, the exposure to how the US healthcare system works, to how medical leadership at UCSD works, to global medical education, those topics which are important tend to get placed in that time of the year because it's less stressful for the scholar and they have more time to really digest it.
So with that being said, thanks to all of you for being on the webinar today. We really appreciate your being here and hope this was helpful for you. As you can see on the screen, if you have further questions, please email us at hsinternational@ucsd.edu. We always respond to emails within 24 hours. You can also check out additional information on our website at hsi.ucsd.edu. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.